त्वा गणपतिं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमम् ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पत आनः शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनम् ॐ श्रीमहागणाधिपतये नमः। ॐ वृषभं चर्षणीनां विश्वरूपमदाभ्यम् बृहस्पतिं वरेण्यम् ॐ तद्विष्णोः परमं पदं सदा पश्यन्ति सूरयः दिवि वचक्षुराततम् ॐ श्रीं ह्रीं महालक्ष्म्यै नमः। ॐ नमः शिवाय शिवाय नमो नमः शिवाय च शिवाय नमो नमः शिवाय च शिवाय च शिवाय शिवाय च। ॐ श्लीं ह्रीं ज्योतिर्ब्राह्माय नमः। Can everybody say after me Hare Rama Krishna 3 times? Om Hare Rama Krishna Hare Rama Krishna Hare Rama Krishna. Next Saturday is a very auspicious day to pray to Shani. So, yeah, it's a Shani Trayodasi, that too a Krishna Shani Trayodasi. A Shani Trayodasi, basically Krishna Trayodasi coming on a Saturday. That is very, very auspicious to pray to Shani. So you can read Shani Mantram or Shani Kavacham or Shani Ashtotram, anything basically, anything relating to Shani. I'll just do one small Shani Mantra so that those who will listen to the audio, they can do this mantram on that day. Do at least a mala of this mantra. It will be very auspicious. Om Sanna Devi Rabhishtaya Apo Bhavantu Pitaye Shamyo Rabhisravantu Nah. Okay. Any questions so far? Not on Shani Mantra, but on astrology.
No, astrology. Not on Shani Mantra.
Yeah.
Because we don't know Shani Mantra before.
Yeah. So what are the doubts?
Like we were going through some charts yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
and then the question is like there are many questions. One is if Rahu and Jupiter combination, we said the Guru Chandala Yoga.
Yeah.
And then suppose Rahu is very well placed in the chart. Rahu
Mm-hmm.
is a nice 5th lord or something like that.
Yeah.
But Guru is 6th lord,
Mm-hmm.
6th house lord.
Yeah.
So, but having the combination there, the Guru Chandala Yoga still exists, or is it?
Guru Chandala Yoga still exists. Guru's natural significations will be attacked by Rahu because Rahu hates Guru. Rahu hates Guru's natural significations. Guru's natural signification is he wants to give children, he wants to give dharma, he wants to make one wise, etc. And Rahu wants to rob all those things. He wants to make one not so wise, he wants to make one not so religious, etc. So in general, Rahu-Guru combination is not auspicious. But depending on the houses owned by them, there may be some compromise. So suppose one owns the 5th house and the other owns, let us say, the 7th house, let us say. So one owns the house of marriage, the other owns the house of children. So there is a Rajoga between them. So even though they are enemies, they are asked to do something, some good work together. So even though Rahu will hate Jupiter to the core, he may cooperate to some extent, especially if he is really involved in the agenda. In other words, not just being the lord of a house. Suppose the Karaka of the house, Karaka of the matter is also his friend. For example, Leo Lagna, Rahu is the 7th lord of marriage, and 7th house Karaka Venus is his friend. So he not only has interest in getting the person married and giving good marital life, but his friend is the project manager. He is the group manager and his friend is the project manager, using our analogy. So he is less likely to abandon that just because of his hatred of Jupiter. So if that Rahu is with Jupiter, the 5th lord, let us say in the 5th house, in Sagittarius you have Jupiter and Rahu. So Jupiter is very strong and Jupiter wants this person to get children, and Rahu is the seventh lord. So even though Jupiter doesn't like Rahu's presence in his house, because there is some kind of confluence in the agenda of the two planets, they will work together to give a reasonably happy marriage and give children, etc. So depending on the houses owned, depending on the other influences, they may actually cooperate with each other. However, in your example, Jupiter himself is functional malefic. Rahu is the one who wants to help the person, and Jupiter is the one who wants to ruin the person. Suppose that is the case, still bottom line is because of their combination, Jupiter has been weakened a lot. Rahu is dominating over Jupiter. So that the tension between the two planets is very much there. But now the roles have reversed. Jupiter wants to misbehave, and Rahu's inherent nature is to misbehave. So he may, and whenever Jupiter and Rahu are together, unless Jupiter is much stronger, Rahu is the one who will dominate. So here in this particular example, Jupiter wants to misbehave, and Rahu's agenda is perhaps to behave well, but his inherent tendency is to not behave well. So probably in your example, fifth lord Rahu and sixth, because Rahu, even though he is fifth lord, fifth karaka is not his friend. So he is not really like, just because he owns the house, it's not like he is going to slog to make that project succeed. If there is a good chance, he will give some result. Otherwise, he is not so excited to give children. So bottom line is, there may be some problem relating to children. It's not very pleasant.
Children are
fifth house matters. Intelligence, wisdom, discretion, judgment, all those matters. Even digestion. So in general, whenever you have Jupiter and Rahu combination, it's tricky. There are cases where it's obvious, and there are obvious that things will be fine. There are cases where it's obvious that things will not be fine, and there are cases where it's tricky. And the example that you gave is one of those tricky ones.
And second is if Shani and Ketu are together in the second house of Leo, like
Yeah.
Leo Rashi, house of Leo.
You mean the Janma Rashi is Leo
Janma Rashi
or
is,
Cancer?
Cancer.
Cancer, okay.
Second house they are Shani and
Right now, in the second house, Shani and Ketu are together. Yeah.
So the question is, we thought that would give some problem with respect to speech.
Yeah.
With respect to some like food problems.
Yeah.
So in that case, whom to propose? Like their Shani Ketu combination is Shiva or Vishnu?
Okay, we'll talk about it. Now, Shani and Ketu. What you said is right. If they are in the second house, not necessarily just not having enough food or not being able to talk well. It's basically, second house is the house of all the resources. So the person's resources may be depleted. Ketu likes to burn everything, reduce everything into ashes.
Rahu is aspecting them.
Yeah, forget Rahu now, let's focus on Shani and Ketu. So Ketu's tendency is to burn things and reduce them to ashes, so that the whole world can get moksha one day. So he wants to basically dissipate everything by burning everything. That is Ketu's nature. And Saturn's nature is again to deplete things. So both are planets of depletion. When they are in the house of resources, it's not at all good. So like you said, it shows not having enough money, or maybe you have food but you can't eat the food. So basically you, from the point of view of feeding yourself regularly on a regular basis and with good food, you will basically lack.
But these are not second from Lagna, they second from Moon.
Yeah.
So his mind is thinking this way, or maybe no, it's not I'm sorry, on the ground. I said Lagna. Did you say Lagna? Did you say Rashi is? Rashi chart.
In the Rashi chart he said, okay.
Okay, I meant
Yeah.
Rashi was.
So now the thing is, the person's resources and wealth are basically depleted. So who should he propitiate? Who does Shani show?
Kali.
Shani, according to Parashara, shows Narayana, Vishnu. Shani and Buddha show Mercury. Shani and Mercury, Saturn and Mercury show Vishnu, right? Moon shows Parvati, Venus shows Lakshmi, Ketu shows Ganesha, Mars shows Kanda, These are the basic Parasara definitions. Jupiter shows Shiva and Sun also shows Shiva. Jupiter shows Sadashiva and Sun shows Sun will show Shiva. These are the definitions of Parasara. And then Saturn showing Kali, all these are basically other extensions. If you want a mother form, then Saturn shows Kali. In general, Saturn will show Vishnu. And here Saturn is with Ketu. So who can you suggest? Who is Ketu? Among Vishnu's avatars. Matsya Avatara. So you can suggest either Matsya Avatar, or you can just suggest Vedanarayan. There is a form of Narayana called Vedanarayana. For example, there is a nice temple near Tirumala, near Tirupati basically, a little away from Tirupati on the way to Chennai. There is a nice temple of Vedanarayana. So basically a form of Narayana where he has rescued the Vedas. So you can just worship Vedanarayana, or you can worship Matsya Avatar directly. Om Namo Bhagavate Matsya Devaya, like that. So that you can do. So that is a possibility. The other possibility is Ketu stands for Ganesha. So you can take Ganesha and he is with Shani. So what form of Ganesha can you suggest? Okay. And he is in Leo. Ketu is in Leo. So you can suggest Rajaganpati, for example. And Ketu is with Shani. So Shani, we said, shows Vishnu. So this is basically a Vishnu like Ganesha. So again, some sattvic form of Ganesha you can suggest. So praying to Ganesha, there are actually several forms. Suppose you are concerned that, I mean, not in this particular case, Shani and Ketu, actually possible, Shani and Ketu in the second house, maybe there is a possibility of somebody doing some prayogam on him, like somebody doing some abhicharam, some using some tantras against this person is possible when there is an influence of Shani and Ketu. So on the second house or on the fifth house, there is a possibility of a prayoga. So suppose you are concerned about that and you are suggesting a Ganesha, then the best form of Ganesha would be, you can just suggest Prayoga Ganapati. You can suggest Kumar Ganapati. Kumar Ganapati is very auspicious for basically breaking all kinds of Prayogas. So depending on the purpose, you can suggest different forms of Ganapati. But in general, Ketu can show Ganesha. So you can suggest Ganesha.
But here Saturn is a problem and not Ketu.
No, both are problems. Both are problems. Even though he owns the fifth house, Ketu stands in the second house is not auspicious.
And Saturn was in Gandanta. Is in Gandanta.
Okay, so if you are more concerned about Saturn, then do suggest Vishnu, a form of Vishnu corresponding to Ketu. You don't even have to bother about Ketu. If you think Shani is the main problem, you can even forget about Ketu. You can just suggest Saturn and you can just suggest Vishnu. But another twist is, though normally Parasara said Vishnu for Saturn, that was in the context of the 12th from Atmakarka. In that context, he suggested Vishnu for Shani. Here, if you want relief from Saturn, you can suggest so many devatas. For example, if you have serious Shani problems and you are expecting some physical problems because of it, you can suggest Rudra. Rudranamakam, Rudrajamakam, Mrutyunjaya Homam. These are all very well recommended for Shani. Yes.
Actually, in your Satyanarayana Vratam, you said equivalent God for Shiva's form of Shani.
What?
You said some equivalent form of Shani Devata for Shanyati Devata.
Oh, Mahakala. Yeah. Basically, Mahakala is a Shiva's form with Shani's energy, Saturn's energy.
So that day anyway they can't pray, right?
Why can't you?
Mahakala is something which is above normal.
Mahakala at a subtle level, he is basically time personified at the subtlest level. So no distinction between good, bad, no distinction between Seshu and this person.
Not reachable.
He basically doesn't care about anything. He just has his job, he keeps doing. That is Mahakala. In that sense, you can't really worship him. But you can just get a Ujjain, you can get a picture of Ujjain Shivalinga basically. Mahakala has a temple in Ujjaini, for example, the town in the city of Ujjaini in India. So you can You can get a picture of that Shivlinga, put it in front of you, and then just say Om Mahakalaya Namah, Om Mahakalaya Namah, or maybe Om Namah Shivaya Namo Mahakalaya. You can do that. The thing is, each god has many forms. There is a very, very highest subtle form which is practically useless for getting anything, because those forms are not meant for asking for relief from this body. At that level, this body is Maya. So somebody is cutting off your hand and you say, please stop it. It doesn't really matter. Okay, this is Maya, let it be cut off. If you are in that level, then you should pray to those highest forms. But the thing is, don't think of Mahakala only as that high form. You can also think of Mahakala as a low form, basically all the Rudras, etc. So, similarly Ganesha, you can pray to Ganesha as the highest deity of the whole universe. That is basically, if you read Atharvasishram, Ganapati Atharvasishram, that is the Ganesha you are praying to. So in that form, it's basically formless, essentially. Basically, if you are smart, you won't ask for anything. There's no point in asking such a deity for anything. You just marvel at that deity and try to be one with that deity. That's it. But if somebody is doing, let's say, some prayogam against you, and even though this is all Maya, temporarily you are stuck in Maya and you want to respect the Maya and you want to manipulate the Maya to your advantage. Suppose somebody is doing some abhicharam against you and you want that to be defeated. You want that person's abhichara to be started, you want that person to stop that, or maybe die, or maybe fail in that and then run away, and you want to be spared from the trouble, the material trouble. Then you do Kumar Ganapati. You don't do Ganapati Atharvasishram 1 million times. It won't do anything for you if that is your real goal. Just do Kumar Ganapati Mantram. That is actually a form of Ganesha who basically has Kumara's energy, Skanda's energy. It's very powerful for getting rid of various evil forces. So like that, suppose you want power, you want influence, and you pray to Ganesha for that. Just do regular Om Shrim Shrim Klim mantra, or maybe do Rajaganapati mantra. That is more powerful. So depending on, for every devata, whether you are praying to Mahakala, Rudra, Vishnu, Shiva, any god, there are various forms which are all within the domain of Maya. Within this Maya, they all manifest in different forms for different purposes. So if you want to manipulate this Maya to your advantage, to the so-called advantage of so-called you, then you pray to these so-called forms for the so-called benefits. That is very well acceptable. That is why all these tantras, mantras, everything is there. But if you think all this is nonsense, if you don't want to be doing more karmas basically, and then getting stuck with, basically there are so many, you can imagine your karmic body as something that has been wrapped in so many ropes. You can imagine that there are so many ropes wrapping you, one rope tied to Seshu, one rope tied to you, one rope tied to somebody else, one rope tied to my wife, one rope tied to my daughter, one rope tied to my guru. So there are so many ropes with which I am tied to so many people, which are all manipulating me. If you just don't want to add more ropes to that karmic body, just get rid of the existing ropes, then you don't do all these things. It depends on what you want and who you are. Anyway, coming back to the question, so for Shani, of course, you can pray to Mahakala, but forget the specific form Mahakala. Just in general, if you pray to Rudra, if you do Mrityunjaya mantra, that is very powerful for Shani. For example, if you read the Shani Stotram, there is a very powerful Stotram called Shani Stotram. Actually, if you get a chance, it's good to read it on this Saturday, on the Krishna Anitrayadasi day. It's basically a stotra written by Dasharatha. According to the epics, according to the Puranas, scriptures, Dasharatha wanted to stop Shani from doing Rohini Bheda. He basically leaves Kritika and enters Rohini. When he enters a particular degree of Rohini, if his latitude is in a particular range, is basically considered inauspicious. So we will not cover that now, but there is some belief in the mythology, which is actually astrologically also, there is an astrological theory also behind it. So if that happens, that is considered very inauspicious. That will cause drought for a long time in the world. So when astrologers told Dasharatha that this is going to happen, you have to stop this, he goes to the skies and he stops Shani, he prays to Shani, and then Shani says, okay, I am very pleased with you, what do you want? Then he does a prayer of Shani, and then he asks for a boon, basically, please spare us this time. So Shani spares Dasharatha and his subjects that time. So that is the story. And the bottom line is the prayer that Dasharatha said to Shani. That prayer, if you basically say, you are said to be relieved from various troubles of Saturn. So for example, you can read that prayer, the prayer of Dasharatha. Especially this is happening in sun sign, and Dasharatha is a Suryavamshi king. So maybe that prayer will be apt in this particular case. And what I was going to say was, when you read that prayer, before that prayer, a couple of mantras of Shani will be given. Oh, the mantra that I read just now, the Shani Gayatri mantra, Shanno Devi Ravishta, that mantra, and Triambakam Yajamhe. So whenever you do any Shani prayer, those two mantras are given. So Mrutyunjaya mantra is very appropriate for Shani. Shani is the Karaka for Ayush. So Mrutyunjaya mantra to give long life, that is very appropriate for Shani. So if Shani is giving you trouble, read Rudrachamakam, read Triambakam Yajamhe, the Mrutyunjaya mantra. Those are very appropriate. And especially he is with Ketu here. And Ketu also shows Rudras. So the fact that Shani is with Ketu and giving trouble, being in Gandanta, showing some physical danger. In that case, doing Rudrabhishekam or Rudrahom is very appropriate.
Interesting. Now also Shani is Gandanta in Leo with Ketu.
Yeah.
When we catch that, right?
Yeah. They will be there for a long
They
time.
will be there for a long time.
So it's not surprising.
They will move for a long time from there.
Yeah, it's not surprising.
And what is the Kalatraya?
What is?
Kalatraya dosham or something?
What dosham?
Kalatraya. Kalakshaya or Kalatraya?
Kulakshaya.
Not Kulakshaya.
No. What is Kalatraya?
The moon is eclipse.
Kalatra means spouse.
Kalatra.
Kalatra means spouse. Yeah.
Kalatraya dosham.
I have never heard of the word called Kalatraya dosham. If you get the correct term, yeah, I have no idea. If you get the correct word, I am sure there is some mistake in it. If you get the correct word, maybe we can answer next. Can try to answer. Can try to find out what it means next class.
So you have questions about
Any other questions?
yes, we have. I have one question.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Kanya Lagna,
Virgo Lagna.
and Mercury is in his natal Mercury is in sun sign in Leo.
Natal Mercury is in Leo. Okay.
Natal Mercury is in Leo and Kanya Lagna. So the 10th Lord being in Leo, now Rahu when he transited into Kumbha,
Yeah.
like last time we talked about the character and some kind of accusation on that person and things like that. He was accused of something.
Yeah.
So is that possible? Rahu aspecting the natal
Rahu aspecting the natal 10th house as well as 10th Lord.
fifth aspect and this one.
So 5th aspect and 7th aspect on both 10th house and 10th Lord. So that is not so auspicious. And moreover, if you want to see what kind of image is coming, Aruh Lagna is a very important difference, right? For image, Aruh Lagna is an important difference. So if you take the Aruh Lagna is in Cancer.
Lagna is in Cancer.
From Cancer, how is Rahu's transit right now? 8th house. 8th house shows sudden changes, sudden ups and downs. So when Rahu or Ketu are transiting the 8th house from Aruh Lagna, it's not so auspicious. It can show some sudden setbacks in image.
So this
Whereas if Jupiter is transiting in the 8th from Aruh Lagna, there can be some sudden boost to the image.
and this can happen, this can sustain like this can remain like this till
Basically, it can remain like this for 8 months or for another 18 months, or it can happen at any time during these 18 months. It's tough to say. You can't expect a result to continue for 18 months. But these 18 months, he is more vulnerable because Rahu is in the 8th from Aruh Lagna, because Rahu is aspecting natal 10th house, because Rahu is aspecting natal 10th Lord. For all these reasons, it is actually, these 18 months are a vulnerable period. Where is moon in the, what is the natal moon sign? How is Rahu's transit from natal moon? He is Mesha Rasi? Oh, okay. So it's not that bad. From the moon sign, Rahu is transiting in the 11th house.
the Bharakasthana.
Forget Bhadakasthana. It's the only one of the 3 signs 3 houses that is good for Rahu to transit. So it's not that bad from moon. So there may be some bad name etc., but he may not be so affected by it. He may take it okay.
That is because he is okay from moon.
From moon, Rahu's transit is actually quite decent. It's 11th house.
So we have a question like Rashi Navamsha. What is that?
What is Rashi Tulya Navamsha?
Rashi Tulya Navamsha and Navamsha Tulya Rashi. Yeah. So what you do in those cases is basically you transpose some position in the Rashi into Navamsha and then see. For example, you take the Lagna. Let's take an example. Let us take some example. Let's take this example. Tejasvi Putra. If you don't mind. Yeah, just as an example. It was in the history. The data is 1988 May 26. Okay. The time is 7:27:54 a.m. Probably rectified by Seshu up to microseconds. 7 hours 27 minutes 54 seconds a.m. Secunderabad, India. 78 degrees 30 minutes east. 17 degrees 27 minutes north. Okay. Now let us see this chart. What is the Lagna in Rashi chart? Gemini. Now what does Lagna of the Rashi chart show? What is it? What does it stand for? The self, the physical self. Right? Now you transpose the Lagna into Navamsha. Navamsha is the dharmic self, the dharmic environment. Now you see how the dharmic environment is going to influence the physical self. So for that you transpose the Rashi Lagna and put it in the Navamsha and see the influences. So Lagna Gemini, put it in Navamsha. Of course you know that Navamsha Lagna is actually Scorpio, but that is not physical self. That is the self from the point of view of dharmic activities. It's a slightly different abstraction of the self. Both are selves only, but one self is the actual physical body. The other self is a conceptual dharmic self. So that conceptual dharmic self is Scorpio. The actual physical self is still Gemini. So take Gemini as Lagna in the Navamsha and see how planets are from it. That shows how the dharmic environment of the person, marital environment, dharmic environment, etc. influences the physical self. So if you do that, how are the influences?
But if you do that, if that is the case, then you would say they are in Vargotama, right?
No, forget. Now you are just looking at Navamsha now. When you take the Rashi Lagna into Navamsha, when you transpose, you are forgetting the Rashi chart. You just look at Navamsha. So take Gemini as Lagna, see how are the planets. For example, what is the influence on Lagna? Saturn is in Lagna, showing lot of suffering and pain, lot of inflicting pain. That's what Saturn shows. And Mars is aspecting him. Again, two male fixes, Saturn and Mars. Two male fixes are associated with Lagna. So Mars shows lot of fire. So there is lot of fire and there is lot of hard work. Saturn gives lot of labor, and that basically makes him suffer. So the dharmic environment of the person is such that he physically suffers from his dharmic activities. So maybe he does lot of sadhana and then he punishes himself physically. Maybe he fasts a lot, he does lot of fasting, or maybe he sits for sadhana. When he sits for sadhana for a long time, maybe he struggles. Maybe he sits like that continuously for 20 hours without eating anything, without doing anything. So that kind of things are possible. That kind of mistreatment of the body because of the dharmic activities of the person. So that is one possibility. So like that you see how are various planets and then you analyze them. Similarly, you can do the other thing, which is take the Navamsha Lagna, put it in the Rashi chart. If you take the Navamsha Lagna, where is the Navamsha Lagna? Here, Scorpio. What does that stand for though? It's not the physical self. It is the dharmic self. It's basically a conceptual abstract. It's an abstract conception of self. What does it stand for? In abstract terms, what does it stand for? The self from the point of view of dharmic activities. basically how you relate to dharma, how you relate to your sense of dharma. Basically, that's what Navamsha Lagna stands for. So if you put that in the Rashi chart,
Then you should show how he physically reacts to.
how various planets are physically, what kind of physical activities are resulting from that concept of self and the sense of dharma, from the dharmic sense of the person. So if you do that, how is Scorpio? Scorpio is the Lagna. So if you take Scorpio as Lagna, how are various planets?
Eighth house as Mercury.
The house that stands out is the 8th house. The 8th house. 8th house has Mercury and Venus. So what does the show?
And occult and tapasya.
Yes. 8th house is basically reaching for the unknown. So 8th house from the Navamsha Lagna it shows reaching for the unknown as a part of one's dharmic pursuit. So that contains the Lagna Lord of the Rashi chart and the 5th Lord of the Rashi chart. So the Raj Yoga that is there in Lagna, that falls in the 8th house. So basically that shows lot of serious tapas. And how is the 10th house? The 10th house has Ketu in it.
Right. So his karmic life will result with lot of.
So physically, at the physical level, he is doing, what does Ketu show? What kind of physical activities will Ketu show?
But the dharmic
Detachment, letting things go, basically things that take you towards moksha, giving up things. So that is what physically he will do as a result of
his dharmic activity.
the karma induced by his dharmic sense, his sense of dharma. So like that you basically combine, you take the lagna of one divisional chart, put it in the other chart and vice versa. So these are Rashi Tulya Navamsha and Navamsha Tulya Rashi. But the thing is, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Why should you only transpose lagna of Rashi chart? Why can't you transpose Jupiter, for example? Why can't you transpose moon? In order to do that, you have to know what is moon in Rashi, what is moon in Navamsha. What is Jupiter in Rashi, what is Jupiter in Navamsha. What is Mars in Rashi, what is Mars in Navamsha. For example, Mars, what does Mars stand for? Energy, initiative, drive, fire within the person. That is what Mars stands for. Then what is it in the Rashi chart, what is it in the Navamsha chart? Can somebody tell me what does Mars in Rashi stand for? It's basically the physical strength to do things, the physical energy to do things, right? So if you take the Mars in Rashi chart here, if you put him in Navamsha, you see how the physical energy of the person is conducive to various of his activities, dharmic activities. How conducive it is to the dharmic life of the person. So if you take Mars in the Aquarius in Navamsha, how are various planets?
At the time, do we take Mars in Kumbha and then analyze it as the Lagna is in Scorpio, or? Yeah, Navamsha Lagna we have to keep as it is.
Now we are not analyzing with respect to Lagna, we are analyzing with respect to Mars. We are seeing what is the influence of the physical energy on dharmic life of the person. How is Sun, how is Mars, how is Moon, how is Jupiter, how is Venus, etc. in Navamsha with respect to Mars.
Okay.
Yes. What is the interaction between those and Mars? That's what we are seeing. So if you see Jupiter, Venus and Ketu, they are in the 10th house from Mars. So what does that mean?
That means
Whatever physical energy he has is being put to use in the dharmic life. Physical energy, because it is Aquarius containing Mars in Rashi. The 10th from that means the karma of that physical energy, the work being performed by that physical energy. In what area? This is in Navamsha chart. So in the dharmic life. So the physical energy of the person will be used in the dharmic life of the person through Jupiter, Venus, Ketu and Scorpio. You understand? So what does Jupiter, Venus and Ketu show? Ketu in Scorpio shows spiritual life. Jupiter and Ketu combination shows Vedic activities. Venus and Jupiter combination shows teaching. So whatever energy the person has physically, Mars is affected by Rahu. So energy is actually a little lacking. But whatever physical energy the person has will be put to use for the purpose of teaching, for the purpose of Vedic learning, for the purpose of spiritual growth.
Rahu in own house.
Pardon me? Yeah, he is in one house, but still Mars is weak. You have to accept that Rahu will want to weaken Mars, and Rahu is particularly strong in his own Mola Trikona. So when Mars goes to such a Rahu, he will be defeated. So Mars is weak. Yes, Mars is weak. So that is how Mars is being used. How is the sense of pleasure? If you see the sense of pleasure, that is Venus. Venus is in Gemini. So that Gemini contains Saturn in the Navamsha chart. So the physical sense of pleasure, the physical pleasures, will they suffer because of the dharmic life of the person? Yes. Right? So like this, basically you can take various references from the Rashi chart and put them in the Navamsha, and similarly vice versa. You can take the Navamsha Mars, put him in the Rashi chart, and then see what is the physical impact of, for example, what does Mars of Navamsha show? We said that Mars in Rashi shows physical energy. What does Mars in Navamsha show? Dharmic energy. The energy and initiative relating to dharmic matters. What is that causing the person to do physically here? Take the Mars in Navamsha. He is in Sagittarius. How is Sagittarius in Rashi? Taking Sagittarius as Lagna, you have Saturn in Manakaraka Sthana. So the drive and energy the person has to do dharmic activities, that is putting strain on his physical resources. Saturn is there. So that makes him weak. That makes him physically abused. Not abused, but physically overused. That results in lot of physical hard work. So like this, you can say, you can take the references in Rashi, you can take the references in Navamsha, and then see influences on those in the other divisional chart. So this is actually what people normally mean by Rashi Tulya Navamsha and Navamsha Tulya Rashi, is simply transposing the Lagna from one chart to the other and analyzing. But the thing is, that is, like I said, just the tip of the iceberg. And also people don't look for specific things in those. People just use it as an alternative. So Rashi Lagna transposed in Navamsha, people take it as just an alternative to Navamsha Lagna. That's not really logical. You have to understand exactly what that means. So like we have done so far, this is not specific to Lagna itself. You can take Moon, you can take Mars. So Mars of Rashi is physical energy. The influences on that in Navamsha shows how the physical energy is being used for dharmic activities. Similarly, Mars of Navamsha is the dharmic initiative, the fire and initiative relating to dharmic activities. So that containing Saturn in the Rashi chart shows the dharmic fire in the person makes him work hard physically. So like this you can take, similarly you can take Saturn of Rashi, Saturn of Navamsha. See what are the interactions. Bottom line is, what you have to realize is, Rashi and Navamsha are not really two different charts. We catch them as two different charts because it's easy to analyze that way. Bottom line is, Parasara does not really talk in those terms. He just talks about Mars of Rashi, Mars of Navamsha, Mars of Dashamsha, Mars of Vimshamsha. Jupiter of Rashi, Jupiter of Navamsha, Jupiter of Vimshamsha, Jupiter of Dashamsha. Mercury of Rashi, Mercury of Navamsha, Mercury of Dakana, Mercury of Hora, Mercury of Dashamsha, and so on. So you have these 16 Mercuries, 16 Jupiters, 16 Marses, 16 Suns. All of them exist in a particular Rashi. Each of them has one particular Rashi. Mars of Rashi is in Aries. Mars of Navamsha is in Gemini. Like that. So you can make one big chart containing 16 times 9. 90 plus 54. 144 positions. You understand what I am saying? Because in other words, this Gemini and this Gemini are not different Geminis. That is a misconception that some people have. The Navamsha is not cast in some other zodiac. It's the same zodiac.
Right. It is a microscopic representation.
Mercury of Navamsha is a microscopic representation of Mercury. But the zodiacal sign occupied by him, Gemini, or where is Mercury here? Actually he is in Libra. So that Libra is the same Libra of the zodiac. But physical Mercury right now in this chart is in Gemini, and an abstract representation of Mercury, the so-called Navamsa Mercury, is in Libra, the physical Libra. You understand? So these Rashis are all physical, but the planets that we are talking about, some of them are physical. For example, Rashi Mercury, Rashi Venus, Rashi Jupiter, they are all physical. Navamsa Mercury, Navamsa Venus, Navamsa Jupiter, Dashamsa Mercury, Dashamsa Venus, Dashamsa Jupiter, Vimshamsa Mercury, Vimshamsa Jupiter, Vimshamsa Mars, all these are abstract representations of planets. They are not physical. They are not physical. They show some abstract things represented by the planet. Mercury shows learning ability. Rashi Mercury shows physically how is the person learning. Similarly, Saturn shows hard work. So Saturn in the ability to do hard work, the spirit of hard work, the spirit of endurance. So physical Mercury shows the physical endurance of the person. Similarly, Mars shows the energy and initiative. So Rashi Mars shows the physical energy of the person. So like that, all the Rashi positions of planets show physical aspects of what the planets signify. But there are other aspects, the dharmic fire within the person, the dharmic endurance, the endurance in dharmic matters. So all these things, the endurance of the person in learning, the endurance of the person in spiritual matters, the energy of the person, the drive and initiative of the person in spiritual matters or in professional matters. Like that, all these various aspects, they are represented by all these 144 positions. So you can make one master chart containing all the 144 positions. And then, actually not just 144, because you have 10 including Lagna. So 10 references, Lagna, 9 planets. So 10 times 60, 16, so 160 positions. So you can take any of these 160 positions as reference and take any of the other 160 positions as a point, and then see the relationship and see what it means. But the thing is, that will be tough. So we just stick to Lagna. But you can if you understand exactly what they stand for, you can do it. And doing it in Dashamsa, Siddhamsa, Vimshamsa may be difficult, but at least Navamsa. One is basically your sense of dharma, one is your physical existence. So you know exactly what those two stand for. So it's very easy to understand what various Navamsa positions of planets stand for. So it's easy to transpose Navamsa positions in Rashi and Rashi positions in Navamsa and analyzing them. It's actually very fruitful. That exercise of taking the Navamsa positions and influences in Rashi and vice versa, it's a very fruitful exercise. It can give you nice insights which you will not get just by looking at Navamsa or just by looking at Rashi. Like I say always, things happen because of interaction between divisional charts. They don't happen just because of one divisional chart. So looking at these interactions between Rashi and Navamsa is very interesting.
So the name is Rashi Tulya Navamsa means transposing the Rashi Lagna into Navamsa.
Actually, I'll be honest. I never bothered to remember exactly which one stands for what, so I'm not 100% sure. I don't want to mislead you. One of them is Rashi Tulya Navamsa, the other one is Navamsa Tulya Rashi. Navamsa like Rashi, Rashi like Navamsa. I mean, Rashi Tulya Navamsa means Navamsa equivalent to Rashi. Navamsa Tulya Rashi means Rashi equivalent to Navamsa. I'm not 100% sure. I mean, theoretically you could call either by either name. So I'm not sure. You should refer to standard textbooks for that.
Are there different names like that for when you transpose things between Rashi and Dashamsa and whatever? This is the only one that people use.
This is the one people use, and when people use Rashi Tulya Navamsa or Navamsa Tulya Rashi, they only transpose Lagna. But like I said, you can transpose Mars. So you could come up with Rashi Angaraka Tulya Navamsa. Like that, you can come up with various names. But the bottom line is, names don't matter. If you understand what Mars of a particular chart means and putting him in another divisional chart and looking at planets with respect to that, exactly what area of the life or what aspect of the person's nature it throws light on. If you understand that, you are all set. Names don't really matter. Because the names that are already there, the two names, they only cover two narrow aspects, two tips of the iceberg, like I said. That is why whenever I was mentioning this, I was not specifying which one is Rashi Tulya Navamsa, which one is Navamsa Tulya Rashi. I am not 100% sure.
So we were looking at Arun Lagna also, right? From Arun Lagna, Rashi to Navamsa. Probably this is also possible. Marudu Lagna in Rashi.
Yeah, absolutely. See, the thing is, planets and signs are the links between various charts. Especially signs, they are inanimate, they don't move. So, Scorpio of Rashi is the same as Scorpio of Navamsha. You see the links between Rashi and Navamsha through what are the common influences. Period. So, Arudha Lagna of the Rashi chart is the physical image of the person. So, how are the dharmic activities of the dharmic life of the person? How is it impacting the physical self, the physical image? You can see the Arudha Lagna of the Rashi, see influences. You will understand.
Another question is,
Any other questions?
during the
So, this is a very important question, very good question you asked. I never mentioned this until now. I am glad that this question was asked. This is a very important aspect. Yes.
while taking the order of planets in terms of giving the which one will give results and which will
Yeah.
we were looking at Narayana Dasha. Then in that case, you were to in this in this key info longitudinality, we have to change the particular. Suppose we are looking at D24. Say,
Yeah.
in the Siddhamsha, we are placing the order of the planets. So we should change the key info here, or
No.
we should
It's always based on the Rashi longitude.
okay, Rashi longitude.
Yeah. Irrespective of which Narayana Dasha you are using, Dasyamsha or Navamsha or Rashi, the order in which planets give the results is based on the Rashi longitudes. The Charakarakatva based on Rashi. Any other questions?
If the moon in Aru Lagna in 3-4 different charts, at least 4 different charts we have seen in
Yeah.
one chart.
Can you repeat? Moon in Aru
In the
Lagna.
Aru Lagna.
Okay.
So
In Rashi?
in the Rashi, this person is very slow. I mean, very lazy. So it is in Capricorn actually. So moon is in Aru Lagna,
In Capricorn.
Capricorn. Even in Rashi and Navamsha, we have seen in Siddhartha.
Okay.
So what it signifies? If moon in Aru Lagna. various
I'm not 100% sure if the result that you are seeing is because of moon or because of just Capricorn and Saturn influence. In general, Saturn will give the Aru Lagna in a Saturnine sign, especially Capricorn, more than Aquarius. Aquarius can give a philosopher kind of image. Capricorn can give sluggish kind of image, sluggish and slow kind of image.
It's only the image, it's not the physical.
Well, image, when I say image, it's not like some kind of fake thing.
It's coming from
That's what he is projecting. Aru Lagna is not just your image, it's what you are projecting. It's what is coming out. So that is the image. What comes out is the image. But it is coming out, that is why it's the image. It's not because somebody just wanted to make you badnaam and then said it. You somehow come across as a lazy person, not you, that person.
something should be cooked.
Yeah. And also if moon is in the Arun Lagna, it gives moon kind of image, a lunar image. And what is the image shown by moon? What is the personality of moon?
Beautiful.
Pardon me?
Beautiful. Good looking.
Beautiful, compassionate, kind. The natural, when moon is not afflicted, when moon is happy, the image given by him is, the personality shown by him is compassionate, kind, understanding, no enemies, tries to be good with everybody, tries to understand everybody's approach. I mean, tries to look at things from everybody's angle, that kind of person. And very easygoing.
But moon in Capricorn.
But if moon is afflicted, it can be basically, it can be the opposite. If moon is afflicted, it can be wavering, because moon is also so fast moving. Like one day he looks like this, one day he looks like this, one day he looks like this. One day he's like a rod, a small line, another day he's like a circle. So he is so fast moving basically. So if moon is in Aru Lagna and if he is weak, let's say he is debilitated or he is afflicted, he is aspected by Saturn or maybe aspected by Rahu or something like that, then, or maybe he is hemmed by Saturn and Rahu, then, or Saturn and Mars, hemmed means Papakartari. In that case, it can be a negative image, it can be an image, that moon can give an image of somebody who can't make up his mind, who is very weak minded, who is very Chapala Chitta basically. Chapala Chitta means, what is a good English translation? Wavering mind. Fickle-minded, very good translation. So fickle-minded. So these are the images. He is actually quite similar to Mercury. Moon and Mercury are very similar when it comes to giving a particular image, like father, like son, basically. So that kind of image is also possible. But laziness, Moon also gives the image of somebody who just relaxes and then engages in nice literary Kavya-goshti or discussions, scholarly discussions, intellectual discussions. So that kind of things are also possible. But what? Singing is also possible. In general, pleasure loving, liking pleasures and having nice pleasures, that is also possible. But plain lazy, basically, a very negative and plain vanilla lazy, that is unlikely. That's probably because of other influences on Arut Lagna, apart from
Laziness
Moon.
shown by Saturn.
Laziness is usually shown by Saturn and Saturnine signs. Afflicted Saturn, weak Saturn.
Saturn in third house also shows.
Saturn in third house can make one lazy. But that more than lazy, that shows somebody who doesn't have to do things. He doesn't do things, but he doesn't have to do things.
There are two contradicting little, right? Because if one is lazy, but Saturn would also show hard work.
Yeah.
If somebody has to work hard, then he is not lazy. Cannot be lazy, then he won't be working hard.
Yeah. Basically, the planet who can show lack of energy is also the planet who gives energy. Similarly, the planet who shows lack of endurance is also the planet who gives endurance. So when Saturn is strong, he shows somebody who works hard. When Saturn is weak, he shows somebody who is lazy, who doesn't work hard. So it's the same Saturn. Depending on his weakness or his strength, he will show somebody who's a workaholic or somebody who's a very lazy person. And Saturn in third house, one of the dictums in tradition, one of the classical dictums is lazy. Saturn in third house, one of the dictums is lazy. Because third house is the house of energy and initiative. A fiery planet like Mars would give energy. But an airy planet like Saturn, he will give dispersion of the energy, basically. He depletes the energy. So it is a good combination because you probably don't have to work hard. Things will come easily for you. But because your enemies, if you take the 6th house, from the 6th house, Saturn is in the 10th house. So your enemies will suffer bad karma. So it is good for you. Saturn in third is good, but it can make one lazy. So that is actually one of the classical dictums. Saturn in third making one a lazy person. Any other points?
We were looking at one chart where person never worked. I mean, never
what do you mean?
Worked in the sense job.
He never had a job, okay?
Never had a job. Means never intend to do a job.
So there was a person who never had a job or never wanted to do a job.
She's a housewife, so she has kids. So she
Okay.
doesn't want to work.
Okay.
So
See, when you are looking at the work of a housewife, be fair. Don't look at don't think that a housewife's job is actually easy. Housewife may actually do more work than one who goes. I'll come back to your question, but one who goes to office, he can, when he is busy. But when he is not busy, maybe half the time he can read internet, he can surf the internet, he can do some fun stuff, he can talk to people. But housewife, she may be so busy, cooking, taking care of kids, getting them ready, taking them to activities. So that also gets reflected in the 10th house. 10th house is not just work that you do at a big nice company, a big office. Even if you are taking care of kids or something, if you are, as long as you are doing important work, as long as you are busy, it will show up as your 10th house and 6th house.
combination will show.
I don't really know. Why don't you find out and tell me? So we'll come back to your question. We have deviated.
Suppose 10th house, the planet which is suppose in Gandanta.
Yeah.
So that shows.
If a planet in Gandanta is associated with the 10th house,
Right.
it can show some big knee problems, or it can also show, it can show knee problems. It can also show 10th Lord being weak. It can also show some work problems, basically not being able to find a good job or not wanting to find a good job. Those are also possible. But usually look at Gandantas
Only.
more on physical level
Okay.
than work, education, etc.
Okay.
So if the planet is, let's say, 6th lord is in Gandanta, or a planet is in 6th house in Gandanta, think of some liver problems. There are likely to be some liver or that area, basically digestive problems in the liver, spleen, that area. So that is a stronger possibility than problem of maternal uncle or something. That is also possible, but physical problems are more likely. Similarly, 10th house is knee problems. Any other points? Any other questions? Why don't we stop and restart? We will continue. I want to finish sharp at 8:30 because I woke up late today, so I could not do my daily homework. I have to go home and do the homework. So I'll stop sharp at 8:30. Yeah, we'll do that.
One last question.
Okay, one last question.
If the Venus is with Rahu and Ketu,
Venus is with Rahu and Ketu in a divisional chart, obviously, not in Rashi. Yeah.
in a divisional chart,
Yeah.
even though Rahu's agenda is like 6th house agenda, say,
Mm-hmm.
with Venus,
Mm-hmm.
and Venus, the Rahu is 6th house agenda, then Venus is 9th lord.
Yeah.
9th lord.
So you are talking about Kanya Lagnam in D24.
So exactly. So if the, so my like I just want to confirm on one of the classes we said that it is like Rahu will be under control because of the Venus.
In general, if Rahu and Ketu are with Venus, even if their agendas are bad, Venus can keep them in control as long as Venus also doesn't have a bad agenda. And here Venus is the 9th lord, so he can keep Rahu and Ketu under control. And especially he is in one. No, forget it.
You said which lagna is it?
Kanya Lagna.
Is Kanya lagna?
Venus is the 9th lord, 2nd and 9th lord. He is a functional benefic. And Rahu and Ketu, they are the 6th and 3rd lords. So they are functional malefics, but they are with Venus. And Venus is basically, Rahu and Ketu are like demons, and Venus is like the teacher of demons. So he can keep them in control. He has some control over them.
He will not be much trouble.
They won't be able to trouble that much. Okay. Shall we do Parashara?
Yeah.
Parashara. Where are we?
We finished.
Abhaktamola we finished. Jyeshtha Gandanta we finished. No, Jyeshtha Gandanta we have to do.
Yeah, just on
Abhaktamola we did.
Yeah.
10:33. So this is Atha Jyesthadi Ganda Shantyadhyayam.
chapter 93.
Chapter 94 in Parashara's version. I mean in Santhanam's version. ज्येष्ठा गंडांत जातस्तु पितुः स्वस्य च नाशकः तस्य शांति विधिं वक्ष्ये सर्व विघ्नोपशान्तये. One who is born in Jyeshtha Gandanta, Pituh Swasya cha, for father and for himself also, Nashakaha means he brings destruction. So one who is born in the Jyeshtha Gandanta brings destruction to father and to self. Tasya Shanti Vidhim Vakshe Sarva Vighnopasantaye. To remove all the obstacles, the remedy for that I am going to say. Moola Shanti Samam Sarva Matrapi. Okay. Moola Shanti Samam Sarva Matrapi Mandapadikam Indrotra Devata Tadvadasi Devo Nalastatha. So it says, this is just like Moola Shanti. The previous chapter, just like that you do. Only difference is Tadvad, just like that, but Mandapam etc. you do everything the same way, but the difference is Indrotra Devata. Indra Atra Devata, but here Indra is the Devata, not Rakshasa. So earlier we talked about that black idol, scary idol that we talked about. Now you have to make Indra instead. And Adhidevata is Tadvad Adhideva Analastatha. Adhideva is Anala. Who is Anala? What is Anala? You don't know Anala, what Anala means? What Anila, do you know at least what Anila means? You came across them? That is excellent. Excellent.
Anila means it is one air.
Yeah. Anila is air.
Anatmaja.
Anilatmaja is Hanuman. Anala is fire. Remember Anala and Anila, fire and air. So Anala means fire. So the devata is Indra, the Adhidevata is fire god, Adhidevata. What?
Told you we came across.
Yeah. If you read authorization, for example, you have which line? You have Anala Anila there in one of the lines. Before the Chatvari Vakpadani. Then Vigneyam cha tatha vipra raksha pratyadhidaivatam, and pratyadhidevata is raksha means rakshasa. So Indra is the main devata. On one side Adhidevata is Agni, on the other side pratyadhidevata is Rakshasa. Okay? That's the only difference. So idols are going to be different. Yatha Shakti Suvannena Kuryad Indra Swarupakam Vajrankushadharam Divyam Gajarajo Paristhitam. Based on the capability, make a beautiful image of Indra with gold. He should be wearing Vajrankushadharam. Vajra means Vajrayudham, and Ankusham means the one that Mahout basically uses to control the elephant. So he has that Ankusham in his hand, and then the elephant control thingy, and then Vajrayudham, and then he is Gajarajo Paristhitam. He is sitting at Gajaraja, means Airavatam. So he should be make an idol of a white elephant, and then make the idol of Indra sitting on the white elephant with Ankucha in hand and the Vajrayudha. Shalitandula samyukta kumbhasyopari pujayet. What is Shalitandula? Shalitandula samyukta kumbhasya opari pujayet. So what does it mean? White rice. Make a pile of white rice. On that put the kumbha. In that kumbha do puja of Indra. So basically put a pile of rice, white rice, put the karsha on that. In the karsha you can put some coins, etc. And then on the top of it, or maybe in front of it, you can put the Indra idol. And then you invoke him in the karsha and the idol, and then do puja. Then Swaswagruhyokta mantrena gandha pushpakshataadibhi abhishekam cha homam cha kuryat brahmana bhojanam. Based on the secret mantras in your own tradition, do puja with the gandham, pushpam, akshata, etc. with the sandalwood powder, with the flowers, with the akshatas, etc. Do the puja, means do Shodsopachar puja. That's what it seems to be saying. And then abhishekam cha homam cha. So do abhishekam and also homam. And then brahmana bhojanam, giving food to brahmanas. Indra suktam japet bhaktya mantram mrutyunjayam tatha. Indra suktam japet bhaktya mantram mrutyunjayam tatha. Prarthayed indra devam cha tatah shantim avapnuyat. Indra suktam. Read the Indra suktam. Unfortunately, I don't know what that Indra suktam is. I only know a few mantras of Indra, but obviously there is some Indra suktam. And of course, in the Vedas you have so many mantras of Indra. So one set of those mantras must be known as Indra sukta in his time. Probably if you find some scriptures, you will come across Indra sukta even today. But unfortunately, I don't have the Indra sukta, so I can't tell you which mantras it is. So he is saying, read the Indra sukta. If you don't know what it is, just read some Indra mantras. Maybe Indram vo Vishwatas Parivahamahe, etc. So read the Indra sukta with bhakti, with devotion, and also Mrityunjaya mantra. So for most of these remedies, Mrityunjaya mantra is a standard remedy. So do the Mrityunjaya mantra. So if you are not able to do any of these remedies, at least tell the person to do Mrityunjaya mantra every day, 11 times or 21 times every day. That itself is a great remedy. Prarthayed indra devam cha tatah shantim avapnuyat. And then with those mantras, pray to God Indra, and then tatah shantim avapnuyat. Then he will get some relief. Thus may the person get some relief. Now, athava satya bhavetu kuryat godaname yatah samasta bhudanad godanamitirichyate. Okay, athava satya bhavetu. If Shakti abhavam. Shakti means ability. Abhavam means lack. So otherwise, if there is a lack of ability, that means if the person cannot do all this, he doesn't have a priest, or maybe he doesn't have gold, he doesn't have much money, he is poor, then if he is not in a position to do this, then kuryat godanamevahi. That means at least give a cow away. Yatah samasta bhudanat godanam atihi atirichyate. That means because compared to giving lot of land as danam, compared to all those, because giving land is considered to be very auspicious, even compared to that, godanam is bigger. So godanam is a very high dana. So give a cow away. Then Mulendrahi magha ganda jate dajjat gavam trayam. Mulendrahi magha ganda jate. Okay. Mulendrahi magha ganda jate dajjat gavam trayam. Goyugmam paushnadastrothe gandante chedvijatmane. So he is saying, in the case of Mula, Mulendra means Mula and Indra Gandanta. That means the Mula and Jashtha Gandanta. If the birth happened in the Gandanta between Mula and Jashtha or Magha Gandantam, that means the border between Karkataka and Simha. So that Asresha Magha Gandanta. There, Dajjat Gavam Trayam. 3 goats, 3 cows have to be donated. Goyugmam Paushna Dastrothe Gandante Vijatmane. On the other hand, if it is Revati and Ashwini Gandanta, then 2 cows. You should not take this literally and say, okay, now I have to give only 2. What this means is, it is less inauspicious. Revati and Ashwini border is less inauspicious. Whereas the Cancer, Leo or Scorpio, Sagittarius border is much more inauspicious. You have to be more careful with it. Anya gande cha duryoge game kamhi pradapayet gorabhave cha vipraya dajjat tanmulyame vahi. So he is saying other gandas. Now he is not saying gandanta now, he is just saying ganda. That means maybe other rasisandhis, other inauspicious combinations. There, just give 1 cow instead of 2 cows or 3 cows. So simple problems like rasisandhi or something, 1 cow. The gandanta between Revati Ashwini, 2 cows. The Gandanta between Jashtha Mula and Asresha and Magha, 3 cows.
All this is only for Lagna being in this Gandanta time. But if
no, he is talking about Nakshatra, so it's basically moon. But I will say take both Lagna and moon.
both Lagna and moon.
Yeah.
If it is anything other than this, if it is any other planet.
That's a good question. Suppose Jupiter is in deep Gandanta, and let's say Jupiter Dasha is running. That is a problem too. So maybe that Shanti you don't have to do at birth. Because Lagna and Moon you do at birth. Suppose Jupiter is in Gandanta and Jupiter Dasha starts at the age of 45. Maybe in the 44th year or 45th year, you can still probably do a similar Gandanta Shanti.
Because anybody who is born now, Saturn is in Gandanta.
Yes, and that Saturn is not any less than Moon being in Gandanta. This is a very dangerous Gandanta.
Saturn and Ketu, both of them.
Ketu is only in Sandhi, not Gandanta.
Ketu is in Sandhi.
So for Ketu, 1 cow, for Saturn, 3 cows. If you follow the formula. I will suggest, if somebody is born with such a weak Saturn, and maybe let's say Saturn is Lagna Lord or something, or Lagna Lord's dispositor, then it's very important. So do it at birth itself. Suppose he is not an important planet, and suppose you expect the suffering because of it at a later age. When the time comes, you can do the remedy. But it's a good idea to do the remedy for those also. And we don't have any specific guidelines from Parashara, so we can use existing guidelines for Lagna and Moon and extend them to the other planets. And suppose Saturn is in Gandanta, maybe you can donate the cows to a Brahmin who is like Saturn, a hard-working Brahmin, or maybe a black Brahmin, black-colored Brahmin, somebody who has Saturn's nature, somebody who is very patient and very perseverant. Suppose it is Venus in Gandanta. Maybe you find a Brahmin, maybe you donate to a woman, a Brahmin lady, or maybe you donate to a Brahmin who is a little Rajasic like Parshuram, a little angry Brahmin. So basically what I am suggesting, this is just my suggestion. So depending on the planet who's in Gandanta, maybe you can take which kind of person you should donate to and then donate to that person and to make the same donation that Parasara mentioned here. That is a possibility.
I was thinking about this in the morning, and yesterday I was thinking about it. When we do any of these remedies that are performed,
Yeah.
the basic intention here is the evil effect, because the karma from those evil effects are being transferred
To some other
somebody else.
suffering. Not either somebody else or sometimes it's not even somebody else. Suppose you donate a cow to a Brahmin to get shanti from this mola, then what happens is some part of your karma is burnt in the process itself. The fact that you are losing a cow, in that some part is being lost and some part is transferred to the person
So that person
because he is expecting something freely.
he is accepting, so he is inheriting some karma.
He is inheriting some karma is getting lost.
So here, why should somebody else take our karma from this?
He is willing to take, so you are giving. He is willing to take. Only those who are willing to take are willing to take.
So we should
will
tell them
take.
that we are performing this for
They should know. Yeah, you should not just bring the person and say, okay, you take this. Suppose, for example, there was one priest. He wanted somebody to donate black shoes as a remedy for some certain problem. So donate to a Brahmin basically. So they were supposed to be given to somebody. That person kind of knew what was going on. He did not want to take it, but he had a lot of respect for the other priest, so he could not say no. But he just wished I didn't have to take these shoes, because it's basically karma. Taking those free shoes, you are getting some certain karma from the other person. Luckily, the opportunity went away. At the time they had to do this, they did not find the shoes. It basically somehow he escaped it, and then those shoes went to the actual person who was supposed to donate the shoes. He needed some shoes one day, he didn't have any shoes, he ended up wearing them. So if somebody wants to avoid, he can always avoid, either implicitly or explicitly. You can explicitly say, no, I can't take it, sorry, you can go away. If you don't want to hurt them, you just pray to your Ishtadevata, you will escape from it. But sometimes you may want to go through it, because what is life after all? Life is basically taking karmas. You have your own karmas, you take somebody else's karma, so what? You burn it, you are burning your own karmas, just one more karma to burn, or maybe another set of karmas to burn. So if somebody has that attitude, he will take. That is why actually you will see, everywhere he says, give it to Brahmin, give it to Brahmin, give it to Brahmin. And what people think is, they think they are giving high seat to Brahmins. Those who read this kind of text, they think that you have to give only to Brahmins. So that is because Brahmanas are taking things, they are accumulating things. They don't understand that. Yes.
The point there is the Brahmanas are possibly in a position to do more rituals. And
Yes, they are the ones who are they were the ones in the past. They were the ones who were doing karma, doing rituals. So they knew they were taking so many karmas from people, they could take them, they could withstand them. That is why Brahmanas are recommended here. By Brahmana here, we don't mean somebody who is born to Brahmana parents and then doing Shodra karma, or somebody born to Brahmanas and always running after money. His only pursuit in life is money. If somebody is running after money, he is basically a Vaishya. If somebody's pursuit in life is power and influence over other people, he is a Kshatriya. If somebody is running after physical comforts and physical sukha, he is basically a Shudra. On the other hand, if somebody's only goal in life is knowledge, pursuit of knowledge, he is a Brahmana. So such a person, somebody who is pursuing God and knowledge, such a person is Brahmana. So whatever resentment has come in the society for Brahmanas, because of all these texts which say, you give a cow to Brahmana, you give land to Brahmana, you feed Brahmanas, you give this to Brahmana, you give that to Brahmana. Looking at all this, especially for example if you take Tamil Nadu, in the Dravid movement, there is so much resentment towards Brahmanas, and all this kind of texts actually provoked it, and they are partly correct. This tradition has been basically misrepresented, irrespective of the stature of the Brahmin. Just because they are Brahmins, they are getting those privileges. These things became privileges. So if somebody is in problem, they will donate a cow, or maybe if a big jamindar has problem, he will donate a lot of land. So they get everything free, they are accumulating things. This just became a
misnomer.
This just got misused for accumulating things. That is never the goal. The goal is to actually take the karmas of other people and suffer for it. So anyway, so you should, if you find somebody who's not able to withstand it, maybe it's not the right thing to do. You are transferring karma to somebody, some unwitting poor idiot, who will probably you yourself may withstand them better than somebody else who may take from you, if the person doesn't have the caliber of even your own caliber, for example. So obviously whenever you do this kind of karmas, it must be somebody of much higher caliber than you and your child. Otherwise it's not, it may be worth it for you, but it's not so nice.
Yeah, I was thinking this morning because I'm going to India next couple of months.
Yeah.
So I wanted to do the Sankrant Shanti.
Yeah.
So
For you?
For me.
Yeah.
Because of sun being around 29 degrees and
Yeah.
56 minutes.
Yeah.
So I wanted to do Sankrant Shanti. So I was then thinking, why should I ask somebody else to take my karma on it? I will burn it myself. Why should I be asking?
If you have the ability to do that, that is the best thing to do. That is the best thing to do. If you have the ability to do, you can even say, I'll take your karma, give it, and then burn all of them. That's what rishis used to do. There's nothing wrong. Ramakrishna Paramahansa used to do. He got cancer for somebody else. One of his people, Girisha, for his sake, he said, from today onwards, everything you do, I'll suffer for it. It becomes my karma. Just give me a power of attorney. He just laughed and said, okay, I'll give you. And then after that, he continued to drink, he continued to womanize, he continued to do whatever he was doing. And Ramakrishna suffered for it. And eventually, he was actually always a great man, but in negative influence. Eventually, when he realized the suffering Ramakrishna was going through because of him, because of his karmas, while he was enjoying, he didn't have any suffering. He was transformed and he stopped all those activities. Actually, when he used to come to Ramakrishna's ashram, Ramakrishna used to say, he used to have a bottle that he would drink on the way. He would leave it in the rickshaw. He would not bring it inside the ashram because it will be bad to bring whiskey into ashram. Ramakrishna used to say, Hare, Girish Babu left his whiskey in the rickshaw, please bring it, he will miss it later. He will be thirsty, please bring it. He was like that. He was a saint of that caliber. And then his students used to go and fetch the alcohol. And then he used to drink it in the ashram. Such a person, he is probably even more learned than Vivekananda at the end. He was so learned. He is almost like Shiva's form. So he transformed a person from this to this just by taking karmas. And the person started thinking about it, and then he became transformed. And then at the end of it, he got cancer because of it. The karmas became so huge that something big had to happen. So he got cancer, he suffered, but he happily suffered. So if you can take karmas of other people, you can take. But the thing is, you should basically first exhaust most of your karmas before you actually can take other people's karmas. If you are already a little light, because most of your big karmas have been burned, then you will be in a position to take other people's karmas and burn them quickly. Otherwise, you will sink. You think, I'm a hero, I'll take everybody's karma, and then you can sink. But again, if you are happy sinking, sink. Anyway, we are diverting. So bottom line is, there are some karmic implications, but they are not easy to evaluate. It's not like all your karma is transferred. By going through this procedure, you are basically, if a sadhu comes and says, give me your karma, and you say, okay, I'm giving, and he says, I'm taking, that is different. But doing this ritual, you are actually burning some of the karma. You are washing away some of the karma, you are burning some of the karma when you do abhishekam and homam. So in this process, when you do this puja, and some part will still go to the person. So that is how it works. Another thing is, suppose you are a big king who has, let's say, billions of dollars. For you, just giving 1 cow or 2 cows is not a big deal. So you have to scale everything up. This is all scalable. So you should, if you think that, okay, now I'll give 2 cows, Parasha said 2 cows, should I give 3 cows or 2 cows? No, mine is this nakshatra, I'll give 2 cows. And if you give 2 cows, nothing is going to happen to you. If you are a big king, do it on a big scale, get 1000 Brahmins, give each of them 100 cows, then maybe you will really get the relief. On the other hand, if you are a poor Brahmin, maybe you just donate cow picture also, maybe you will get the result from it. So it's all scalable. And then he says, Gora bhavecha vipraya dadyat tanmulyam evathi. In case of absence of a cow or inability to give a cow, give the price of the cow to the Brahmin. Basically, he should be able to get a cow because of it. That is the goal. Jyeshtha, on the other hand, suppose you give the price of a cow to a Brahmin, and then with that money he buys a couple of whiskey bottles and comes and drinks whiskey, let us say.
It's okay.
Well, it's not really okay. The thing is then, because you pick such a Brahmin, your remedy is not going to work fully. He's not. Just by giving money, your job is not done. It's like apatra dhanam. You are giving it to somebody who is not worthy of it. So you have to find the right Brahmin who will put it to right use. Similarly, like I said, the other class, if you give cow to somebody, it's a price. If he goes and sells it and then somebody eats it, you get some karma. You were conducive to basically somebody else eating the cow. So you will get some of that karma. Similarly, suppose you work for a company and every day you are eating food with the money that you got from the company. And let's say that company has an investment in, let's say, another company that slaughters cows. There is some equity there. So some part of the karma that's being carried out by killing those cows, you will get it. So all these karmas that you are accumulating every day because of various actions that you do now and also did in the past, it is very tough to actually keep track of all this. You have to be Chitragupta or a great yogi who can actually see the karmas. Then only you can actually know. There are so many karmas that are being put on your shoulder every moment. So you have to be, all these things you have to, because you said what about the karmic implication, I am telling you. All these things are there. Just by giving the cow also your job is not done. You have to make sure that it's the right guy. He will put it to the right use and he will treat the cow nicely. Suppose he abuses the cow, again some part of that bad karma will come to you. Maybe not a big part, a very small part, but some part. So it's like you are putting money in bank and interest is coming to you. It can be positive interest or negative interest. You don't know. So that risk is always there. So from that point of view, if you don't do anything, if you just suffer all your karmas by yourself, that is the safest thing to do.
But then all these remedies are suggesting how to get it up in one way. So
Yeah.
if you want to burn it yourself, then there should be some other way.
Yeah.
That way we don't know.
Yes. We don't know exactly what you can do to burn exactly what karma. And for that matter, you don't know exactly what karmas are sitting on your shoulders. So all you can do is, the best way to burn karmas is suffering materially or spiritual sadhana. So just keep doing more and more sadhana. Spend more and more time in spiritual sadhana. More and more of your karmas will burn. Do homam, do abhishekas, do japa. They will keep burning your karma. Jyeshtha nakshatra kanya vinihanti dhavagrajam vishakantya padotpanna kanya devaraghatini. Okay, now he is talking about girls. Jyeshtha nakshatra kanya, that means a kanya, a woman, a girl born in the Jyeshtha nakshatra, vinihanti dhavagrajam. What does it mean? Vinihanti means kills. That means causes big problems. To who? Dhavagrajam. What does dhava mean? Anybody knows dhava? Dhava means husband. Dhava agrajam means brother-in-law, the elder brother of your husband. Vishakhantya padotpanna kanya devaraghatini. On the other hand, Vishakhantya padotpanna, the last pada of Vishakha. If a woman is born in the last pada of Vishakha, then she is Devaraghatini. Who is Devara? Hindi Devar came from Sanskrit Devara. Younger brother-in-law. That means younger brother of your husband. Ghatini means again killer. So she is a killer for younger brother of the husband. So Jyeshtha and Vishakha. For Jyeshtha he did not say last pada, but we can interpret it to be the Gandanta. Instead of the whole nakshatra, we can interpret that being as the last nakshatra pada. So Jyeshtha last pada and Vishakha last pada. Now Vishakha last pada has been introduced for the first time here. It's not a Gandanta. It's just the Rashi Sandhi, but still in the same Scorpio. So Scorpio, both the ends. The higher end of Scorpio is for elder brother-in-law. The lower end of Scorpio is for the younger brother-in-law. So these are also dangerous. Tasyah pradana kaleto godanam apikarayet. So for her, at the time of pradhanam, what is pradhanam? Yeah, kanyadanam. Dhanam means giving away. Pradhanam means the special giving away. So pradhanam means giving the daughter, giving the woman. So at the time of marriage, basically at the time of marriage, especially at the time of pradhanam. At the time, again do godhanam. So maybe 1 cow, 2 cows, whatever. So do godhanam at the time of marriage, if you don't want problems to the younger and elder brother-in-law. Asleshantyat tripadothau muladya tripadodbhavau kanyasutau hatah shvashrum shvashuram chathakramam. Okay, so he is saying Asleshantya tripadothau, born in the last 3 padas of Aslesha. So now we are actually extending, we are covering a much bigger area. 3 padas of Aslesha. 3 padas of Aslesha are Muladya Tripadodbhavau. The first 3 padas of Mula. The last 3 padas of Aslesha are the first 3 padas of Mula. Those are Kanya Sutau Hatah Swashrum Swasiram Cha Yathakramam. Kanya Sutau, daughter and son born in those 2 nakshatras, they, what do? Swashrum Swasiram Cha Yathakramam. That means mother-in-law and father-in-law respectively. So that means a woman born in the last 3 padas of Aslesha brings danger to mother-in-law. Similarly, a boy born in the first 3 padas of Mula, he brings danger to father-in-law. Tayor vivaha kalayatah shantim kuryad vichakshanah. For them, at the time of marriage, shantim kuryad, do the remedial measures. Tattad dosha vinashaya yatha vittanusaratah. For relief from that particular dosha, based on whatever money is at the disposal of the person. Dhavagrajad jabhave. Dhavagraja, no, there is a dirgha missing. Dhavagrajad jabhave tu nadoshaya prajayate. So if the elder brother is not there, I mean, he only says elder brother, but obviously all other things implied. Elder brother, younger brother, father-in-law, mother-in-law, etc. not there. If they are not there in these respective clauses, then there is no dosha. Then you don't have to do any remedy. So if somebody is born in the husband doesn't have any younger brother, and the bride is, let's say, born in Vishakha 4th Padam, then you don't have to do any remedy. Okay. So this is the Shanti for Mula Gandanta, and actually a few miscellaneous Gandantas and Rajsandhis also he covered in this, because this is the last Gandanta. The next one is Tritara Janma. So basically, having a daughter after 3 sons, no, I'm not doing it, I'm just introducing. Having a daughter after 3 sons, that's basically 3 other kinds of children. After them, a different kind of child is born. So further, that is also considered a dosha, and further relief from that dosha we will cover in the next class. Any other questions in the next 9 minutes?
The Sankrant Shanti.
Yeah, your Shanti, yes.
That was suggested as per this one, if one is in poor and poverty and things like that. What is the definition for poor and poverty? When should they do it? If somebody, I think perfectly fine. I have no problem. Why should I even consider that?
Okay, so the result given for the Sankrant Purusha in your case is basically poverty.
I don't know, that is what this line read.
Okay, that's fine, that's fine. Let's say hypothetically for somebody, the result is poverty and the person feels, I'm not poor, I don't need any more money, then what should we do? Okay, then don't do anything. Maybe for some other reason, Sankrant dosha is maybe not really giving its result in a particular case. It's possible that all these doshas, most of the cases they work, but there may be reasons that we don't completely understand, because of which maybe some sadhana somebody else did, an ancestor did, or maybe there are some other divisional charts in which some other karmas are reflected which we are not able to judge properly, because these are all gross rules based on some really gross principles. Maybe there are some finer principles which modify them, maybe none of the classics have shed light on it, so maybe we don't know them. That is quite possible. So if somebody feels that they are not really bothered by a particular dosha, then you don't really have to trouble them saying no, you still do it. But if they think that they are suffering, I know several Sankrant dosha people who feel that their whole life has been stunted, no growth, and whatever they do there are obstacles. So that kind of results, if they are there, then you do the remedy. If you are happy, then there is no need to do remedy.
The other way, like I am born with Amavasya dosha, I feel that my parents have depletion. I mean, when I born, they lost some property and all those things. So I came to know Amavasya dosha recently. How do I do that Amavasya dosha pariharam over here? Because my parents are, now I am aged and my parents are in India.
Yeah.
So how do I do that?
One of the trips when you happen to go to India.
When you go to India, you can do it. That is one way. Another way is, if that's not possible, and if you want to do it quickly, they can just get it done there. You are not there. What?
How can they get it done? Because Sankrant dosha needs some abhisheka on the person.
Yeah. They will get the abhisheka. You won't get the abhisheka. They will get the abhisheka. They can just keep the water. When you go there later, you can use it. Then and
because this is
they can.
so my father called me this morning saying that okay, you told Amavasya dosha. Probably still.
Some people do it basically without both parents and child being there. You are not a child anyway. So basically parents can get the puja done in your name and their name. In the sankalpam they can say both your name and their names, and then they can do the puja and then get abhishekam for themselves.
So any
Or
they would know, right? If Amavasya
yeah, most pujaris would know Amavasya dosha. It's a well-known dosha,
okay.
common thing, common. And the thing is, even if they don't know, they may say, oh, I can do, and then they may do something. If you find a good priest, you should be fine. And then you can get it done here also. If you find a good priest here, you can get it done. You can say your father's name, mother's name, your name, and then you can get abhishekam done to you. And then again, one of you basically have to compromise. At least the other person can do it. That is better than not doing.
Because Kartika Masam is next weekend is good for Amavasya dosha.
Yeah, it's Amavasya day.
Right. That's what
This Monday is Kartika Samvaram and Amavasya. Yeah. Yes.
You know, thinking there is the proportionate donation or proportionate amount that or proportionate number of cows that we talked about.
Yeah.
I have a definition for that.
Okay, go ahead.
The logic should be the proportion that we are talking about should be the quantity that should pinch the person.
Yeah, of course.
For me, if I am trying to give $10 to somebody, may not really pinch.
Yeah.
So that is not a big donation that I am making.
Yeah.
But if I am trying to make $1,000, I think twice.
Okay.
So that is
Or so somebody who is taking $10 should come to your house and pinch you. That's what you are saying.
exactly. Not pinch and take $10.
You told just Raj, one king
Yeah.
donating 2 cows. Then
Yeah. For a king, he should donate to 1,000 people, each 100 cows. Then it will pinch the
I
king.
am just quantifying that. Sir.
Yes, you are right. That is what I was getting at too. And I said, for a king, 3 cows and 2 cows is not a big deal. So it should basically be a little bit of
Some suffering.
stretch on you, some suffering for you.
Some stretch and suffering.
Yes, absolutely. Otherwise, there is no point.
material loss should be signified.
Some significant loss should be seen. That's right.
Yeah.
And the other point I was thinking is there are so many
And the thing is, within that, how much pinch it should be, that depends on whether it's Mola Gandanta or Revati Gandanta. Revati Gandanta, little pinch is enough.
other one little bit.
Other one, bigger
2
pinch.
pinches, 3 pinches.
Yes.
And the other thing, there are in the normal day-to-day thing, we are getting so many unrealized karmic debts on us.
Yeah.
Deaths or whatever. There are so many unrealized things.
Yes, absolutely.
Happening.
Yeah.
So
You just defecate, you get so much karma. You are changing the lives of so many bacteria. You go pee, you get so many karmas. Yes.
The thought is for everybody in general not to generate more karma knowingly. That is, you speak bad.
Doesn't matter knowingly or unknowingly. Karma is karma.
Things that are unknowingly happening and the background that you have no control over, that's a different issue.
Actually, there is nothing called no control over. You have control over everything.
No, for example, you give a cow to somebody having not realized how he is going to use it. You donate to somebody and he is going to drink whiskey.
Yeah.
That is something beyond your control after some certain time.
Mm-hmm.
But things which are in your control are like directly accusing somebody or being bad to somebody knowingly. They are things which you are accumulating them knowingly.
Mm-hmm.
So avoid doing those things in the first place, can at least not get new additional karma.
Good. Yeah.
Some thought.
Yeah. Yeah. That is definitely the first step.
Yeah, unknowingly you cannot control, so at least knowingly should not.
Don't make others more things.
Yes. But the thing is, sometimes even if you do something unknowingly, if it is really, really a big karma,
That can still
you are in full luck.
That's true.
You are in full luck.
Correct.
So, and the thing is, there is nothing really called not in your control. If you really want to control, everything is in your control.
Suppose if I hit an animal on the road, last Monday,
For me?
if I hit an animal while driving,
Yeah.
so it was not in my control.
Yeah.
But the animal was there.
Yeah.
So
So you can
should
make
I
some karma.
that's why.
You do incur karma.
Yeah. Even though I said sorry to that animal.
It's not about compassion, finding compassion, kindness. It's just you did it. But the thing is, if you are in such an exalted state, if you are a great yogi, you are not really thinking that you are doing. Always, basically, you have completely surrendered your ego to whoever your Ishtadevata is. And you don't really feel even for a second that I did it. Then, whatever you do, there is no karma.
Even if you realize that the karma is illusion.
Yeah, you have to fully realize the nature of, the true illusive nature of the karma. Until then, whatever you do, knowingly or unknowingly, these are all relative terms, knowingly, unknowingly, absolutely relative terms. At the highest level, you are not doing anything. At the lowest level, you are doing everything. Period.
The karma is the vasanas we have.
For me?
Karma means the previous, depends on your vasanas.
Your vasanas do impact the karma that you do, absolutely.
If you do it unknowingly, then how can it come to you?
Karma is any action. Karma literally means action. I push this.
Depends on your mind, state of mind.
Yeah, it depends on your state of mind. But suppose I push this.
Unknowingly,
This is force. This is forcing my hand back. I'm pushing it with some force. There is some force on my hand. Whether I did it, okay, I should do it, and then I do it, or whether I was doing, actually look at that, and then my hand moved and hit it. Still, the action and reaction are there. So, whether I did it intentionally or unintentionally, doesn't matter. As long as you did something, you did that karma. The only solution is, you are absolutely not doing anything. There is no you. When there is no you, there is no karma for you. As long as there is a you, there is a karma for you. Anyway, let's not go to philosophy. Like you said, pragmatically speaking, you can try to avoid the karmas that you seem to have control over. For example, you don't speak bad about anybody. For example, speaking bad about somebody may enable you to do something really, really good. So, even thumb rules may not work. There may be always exceptions. By speaking good about somebody, you may speak good about there may be a saint, so-called saint. You may speak good about him, then 1,000 people may go follow him. He may dupe them, $1 million each. They may all, because you spoke good about him, they may all be robbed of all their life earnings, and then their children may suffer. They may not get married, and so many souls that may have come to them as children, they may not come. There may be a big chain of events impacting some billion souls because of that speaking well of that person. You never know. Similarly, you may speak ill of somebody, you may have saved so many lives. So there are no thumb rules like this is right, this is wrong. It is all right and wrong is all basically relative. And she is the only one who has the full picture. All of us, it's like there is a big elephant. You look at the tail of the elephant, there is one hair on the element, the tip of the hair, there are some molecules, there are some atoms in them, there are some subatomic particles. We know those subatomic particles. And then we judge the whole elephant based on it. She is the only one who has the big picture, the full picture of what is happening and why is it happening, how all these things are going to come together. She has a plan. We don't really have a plan. So the best thing is, if you want to get over all your karmas, the best remedy I will suggest is realize this more and more. As you realize more and more, you will become more and more free from your karmas. More and more of your karmas will be burnt. If you realize this, you don't have to pray for 10 hours every day. Even if you pray for 10 minutes, it will be more fruitful. You have to really surrender your ego to her, or him, or it, whatever your concept of God is, whatever your Devata is. The surrender, true surrender is the only way. Okay. So with that thought, I will surrender this class to Krishna. Sarvam Krishna Arpanamastu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.